Welcome to Land a House. This video is going to be different than my usual content. Normally I would try to either experiment with ram pump or build something. Lately it's been just a bunch of workshop stuff. But this week is a little bit too crazy for me to dedicate a couple hours to a project like I normally do. And so it's just going to be a turn the camera on and start talking kind of deal. And what I was thinking was we just take a trip around the property. Some of this will be looking back on older memories, and some will be thinking to the future. And some things may be issues that I've found that need to be fixed around the homestead here. So anyway, let's just jump into a fun chat between you and I. One of the first things I want to mention is one of my favorite things, and that's this little shed and what's inside. When I was about maybe 10 or so, I had this wild dream of owning a four-wheeler one day. And I used to sit with some trace paper and I would trace four-wheelers that I found. This new thing came out called the internet, and you could download pictures. We had dial-up and it would take like 2 hours to get a picture of a four-wheeler, but I'd print it off and then I would trace it. So fast forward many years, and I have the Polaris Sportsman 450, and Emma and I, myself only, has just rolled over 500 miles on this in less than a year. So anyway, I'm really excited to own this. I never thought that I would actually be able to afford one, and it's been really great. And then I built this cart. Probably could have saved money by buying one, to be honest with you, but it has turned out to be a very good asset to the property here. I've definitely used it a lot already, and the work with this cart has just begun. Next, when I bought the property, I decided to clean things up. So if you take a step down here, we'll go down there in a minute, but past the tree, all of that down there had weeds that were over my head. And actually, everything in here was tulip poplar trees, which, that's a sycamore. That one, the yellow one right there, is a tulip poplar. Everything was about twice that size, and it was just grown up in here. So I cut that down, but I also cut all the weeds in there, and I decided if I'm going to be coming up here to the property a lot, I ought to buy a lawnmower. So I went to Lowe's and I got this Troy-Bilt here, and it worked well for about 3 years. It still runs, but it's got some issues. So I talked to my neighbor and said, do you think your zero-turn mower would work on my hill out here? So he drove it up here, and he went down a couple times and he like gave me the thumbs up, and he's like, yes it will. And then he mowed everything, and he mowed it in about 15 minutes. I was like, wow, this yard would take me hours, sometimes even break it up into 2 days just to mow this. So I decided it was time to break down and buy a nice riding mower. And so I went with the Hustler 42-inch, and it has been unbelievable. I'll have to do maintenance on it here coming up pretty soon, but this thing has just truly changed yard work for me. So if you're looking for a zero turn, I do recommend checking out this one. The the Shelter Logic tent has worked well for a year, but it's already getting sun damage. I've got some tape here. It's not doing a very good job, but there are rips occurring right there, and so I'm disappointed with that. But need to clean up back here. Just got some PVC pipe and some unistrut. So that's what I wanted to say about this area. It's kind of my big toys, my expensive toys, and I have plans for this pipe here for a potential snowplow. Should be a fun one. Probably should throw that hose away. Okay, where should we move on to next? I've mentioned this a few times, but I eventually, as money allows, want to do a lot of improvements here in the back of the house. As you can see, I can't grow grass on this hill. It's clay and it's rock and it's terrible. So the plan is to go out about 12 feet, and that'll give a 6-foot wall. I'm going to try and use a company called Allen Block. It's really made for 6-foot walls and even higher, but I should be able to cut out at least 12 feet back on that. And so the goal will be to connect the two porches, extend out another bit here. I mean, if I did at least, 8 feet, that'd give us plenty of room there. And there's a method of making a covered porch, even if you've got these low roofs here. So Ashley's really been wanting a screened-in porch too, so that's motivation to do that. Then I'll have gravel drive back here that will go to a shed for the lawnmower and four-wheeler and all that good stuff back in the back. And that way here I can make a carport, and that will have a roof that will wrap around the corner and go to our porch. That way, if it's raining or snowing, we won't get wet, especially with 2 little kids. So that's the back of the house. I know this video is not your typical content here on the channel, but because we've got so much going on this week, baby gender reveal, wedding anniversary, a wedding to go to, I just don't really have time for the usual. Ashley has stated that she doesn't care as much for this large garden fence. So my thoughts are, on the far side over there, I will bring it in 1 full section. So if you like look at those posts in there, bring the last one in and the far side in, shrink it down some. And that should still give me plenty of room for when I do start doing gardening work, but it'll help out with our yard, so it won't look as snaky over there. I bought this property in about 2013, and I thought, I'm gonna live out here on my own, have all this land around me, it's gonna be awesome. So I started building this tiny house, and then I got married and plans changed. But let's step over here and take a look at what this place is like. It's not finished, I just need to get motivated to do it. But it is pretty well waterproofed in. The door I made myself, and as you can see, it's a little bit off, but it works. Poured that foundation myself, and that was a headache. But building this place here helped me so much with my workshop, which we'll take a look at here in a minute. But the outside, there's really not much to see. It's just concrete block on the bottom and hardy board on the top. So let's go inside and take a look. Right now it's mostly just a junk storage, as you can see. Most of these tools will go either the four-wheeler shed later on or into the workshop. And I was thinking this may be like a cool, maybe a kid's playhouse one day when I can actually finish it in. But so I was going to use solar panels for power over here, so I could have some LED lighting going on. I was attempting to do a composting toilet, which if it's going to be a play place, I'll probably just pull that out. Who knows? I may try to finish it and do a rental place, but it was going to have a simple gray water system in here, like shower and sink, and then up top, I won't go up there, but I had this ladder that I built that would pull down, and then these panels here could be slid around, which were pretty cool. You could either pull them off or use them for extra floor space. So there's that. It's not finished in. So one of the main reasons for having these panels up here was if you wanted to get a mattress or some kind of furniture up there, you could pull these down and put the mattress up there and then put them back again. Back here in the back of the tiny house is kind of my storage space for stuff. I've got a bunch of lumber over there and some just random stuff like some fencing, and this water tower was a fun idea but never really went anywhere. Maybe someday I will revisit that. So I purchased another 0.6 acres back here in the back of the property. Never really done anything with it. Let's see if we can just walk over there and I'll show you the general area. So if you can see, right here is a property marker, and that's where that 0.66 acres starts, and it goes way back in there a good bit. Heads over to the creek, which comes down this way. Let's go check out the ram pump real quick. I noticed it had stopped a couple days ago. Be interesting to see why that's going. I get the question quite often, Seth, why did you make a flume? And the reason for the flume was because of the tiny house. I had this idea that if solar panels weren't enough, I could use some electric power from the water. But doing a little math, I realized I'm not gonna have much electricity from here anyway. So that's kind of the story behind that. But so here's the flume. Goes down, and it's got roughly a 7-foot drop at the end. And this summer has been really good for the water flow. I should really get in here and clean up these pipes. Only one I'm really using right now is the 1-inch. But let's go check out the source of the ram pump and see what has happened up here. Well, there's your problem. We had a pretty good rain recently, and it has pretty much completely covered up the intake, and it has stopped that from flowing down there. I had actually cut a pretty deep hole around there about a month ago, but it has just slowly covered back up. I'm finding that the ram pump itself is rarely the problem, but the silt and debris around this intake is what really gets you going with some issues. Anyway, let me clean that up real quick and we'll check out the pump. Should be clear enough for us to get the pump started again. So, hydraulic ram pumps. You can buy 4 different sizes on landtohouse.com. Over the past 4 to 5 years, I have sold a couple thousand pumps. I have a few times I've received emails saying, why on earth would you make and sell something that is so readily available as far as knowledge online? And I tell people, some people just don't have time to run to the store and find 20 plus components for a pump, so they're happy to buy. But the pump comes down here, hits this bucket, and I think I just saw a salamander jump in there. He might be regretting that. Come on, dude, get out of there. Where'd he go? Let's save this little guy. So I put this plug down here to drain the water, and sometimes it gets so stopped up that I have to find a stick and poke down in that hole, clean it out. Woohoo! There we go. You can see just how much silt this pump pulls in. So water fills that bucket, goes to the drive pipe here, and then the excess just pours back into the flume there. So that's really convenient. Drive pipe travels on down the flume. It's locked down pretty tight so it doesn't bounce around much. We'll have to push the valve here and let the muck out of there. So that pipe then goes up about 25 to 30 feet up the hill. When Emma first learned to walk, she loved coming down here and running across this bridge over and over again. And so I made it better than it was before. Oh gosh, just stepped in a monster spider web and moved the bridge. Let's move it back. There we go. So I've been mowing this spot now. This is the very first thing I ever cleared. Next was this area up here. And now I'm working on clearing back that way to have more of a grassy area under the trees. And this summer I was able to move all the stuff from this hill, and now it's looking a lot better too. So it's these little things that you look back on and think, it's made a big difference. Things look better now. So let's head up here to the workshop. May end the video up here. On the edge with the woods here, we've got that strip down there, which used to be an old road, and then this nasty grassy area. And you might wonder what this is, and that's where the drain lines for our septic is. Kind of a nasty topic, but it just curves around there into nothing. So I don't know if I should mow that or what, but I mean, it looks kind of at the moment. And there's a lot of big rocks in there, so I might consider it later, but for now, it's just a grown-up grassy field. Let's head up here to the workshop. If you've spent much time watching the channel, you know that I spend a lot of time here in this workshop. Just checked my phone to see when the first picture was taken, and in September 6th, 2016, I started digging this hill back over here for construction to begin. And the wall's still doing good. When the other wall is built, it'll be back a good bit, and I'll pull this one out for more room here. But so this is what I've got after basically 2 years, and I have really thoroughly enjoyed having this shop. Put a lot of work and time into it, and I think it's paid off. There are a lot of ideas that I had going into this, and I would just write them down real quick and store them, and it's really fun to see them coming to life over the past 2 years. For instance, I had just drawn out this little idea that I could put an air conditioner here with a covering, and then there it is. So anyway, I've really been thrilled to have owned this place. I'm not sure what this was. Oh, I guess where I painted the caulking. So I still have a long ways to go in this shop before it's what I would consider to be done. And it may be one of those projects where it's just never done. But for the future, I'm going to have the covering on the roof here, and that's why I've still got this metal over here. I'm also going to put something on the back door. Need to figure out what this is. I really don't know. I'm guessing water comes around here and just puddles up. Maybe if I dig this out a little better, that will go away. Because the septic is not, it's over here. And it goes that way, so not sure what all that is. Let's go inside real quick. And this is the inside of the workshop. Let's start from the top and move down. I've almost got the ceiling done here. Got the OSB to finish it up. Need to put a little trap door here. If you're real quiet, you can hear a fan running up there, and that is solar powered and pulls out the heat and moisture in the attic, and has done an amazing job. Been working very slowly on the French cleat wall here. Still looks like a giant mess, but it is way better than it was before. I'm currently working on getting all of my fasteners put up into storage over here. So you can see what that looks like, but in that transition period, it's kind of a wreck here on my workbench. I built this bench. It was an idea I had probably a year and a half ago, and it's so nice to see that finished and being used. Here's the ram pump storage stuff. I'm always pulling parts from here and using those in storage boxes. So this has been my playground for the past year. Once I got the shop weathered in, I just began playing, and I don't really think you'll ever stop. It's one of those things you just like, oh, want to do this, and so you start building something else. Like coming up next is going to be a cabinet for the drill press. I'm currently building a ladder to go in here so I can access storage shelves. Uh-oh, my insulation is coming down. I've got that piece over there is finished, but I need to get the rest of this insulated before winter time, so I'll have to do that as well. Anyway, like I said before, this video is just turn the camera on and start talking kind of thing. I rarely do these because I am terrible at it, but just wanted to walk around and give you some thoughts about the property. Like I said, I've been here since 2013, and really and truly the last 2 years have been the biggest change because I got the house, married, have a kid. It's just big life changes real quick. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this walk around. Perhaps next time I can take you inside and have some more family time, but that's going to be it for today. If you enjoyed this video, maybe I'll go into more detail about something else around the property later on. Alright, I'll see you in the next video.